Once again, the way in which we'll shape our few moments together is through the process of learning. Hopefully, this learning will be in the zchus of the soldiers who are fighting, and the zchus of those who need a refuah. Parshas TORAH opens with what I think is one of the most important and most underestimated sections of the Torah. If you go back and when you have an opportunity, open up the Chumash and take a look at the opening of Parshas TORAH, and you see that the Torah dedicates a series of psukim to the negotiation between Avraham and Bnei Ches, and then Avram and Ephron, Avram and the Hittites, and then Avram and one particular person, Avram and Ephron Achiti, for the purchase of Maras HaMachpelah. Now, this is important for us on a variety of levels. First of all, it's the first actual land holding that we see contracted in Eretz Yisrael. And it is clear from this that Avram purchases this land and that this land belongs to him, and the Torah goes out of its way to say that it belongs to him. And of course, it's so ironic that Hebron has become or continues to be a flashpoint for controversy and fighting, when here is the proof from our perspective of a legal holding of the land that belongs to us. It also underscores Avram's emunah, Avram's belief. The fact is that HaKadosh Baruch Hu has been promising him this land from the outset. And yet, nonetheless, when it comes time to bury Sarah, he has to go out of his way to purchase a plot of land. So the reality is that those prophecies that are being given to Avraham are not going to come to fruition until later in history, when his nation undertakes to take over the land. And Kedushas Haaretz only actually begins when we enter the land as a nation. But I've always been struck by the fact that the Torah dedicates more psukim to this contract negotiation than it does to the Akedah. More psukim are dedicated in the Torah text to this contract negotiation. And if you and I were to write this portion, I would argue that we could have very easily written it in 4 or 5 psukim. We could have said, Avram stood up, went to Bnei Ches, asked to purchase the land. They sent him to Ephron. Ephron said, okay, this is what it'll cost. Why is there so much text dedicated to this particular event? So those of you who have learned with me perhaps will remember that I believe the answer lies in 2 psukim towards the beginning of the paragraph. Avram turns to Bnei Ches, and this is towards the end of his career, and he says, Ger v'toshav anochi imachem, tenu li achuzas kever imachem ve'kbara mesim lefonai. I am a ger v'toshav. We'll come back to that phrase in a moment. Together with you, give me a plot of land and I will bury my dead from before me. And if you take a look at that phrase, ger v'toshav, Chazal immediately point out that it is fundamentally, inherently inconsistent. The Torah uses one of 2 words generally to describe someone's presence in an area or dwelling in an area. It uses the word lagur when the individual's dwelling is impermanent and uncomfortable and not going to last. It uses the word lashevet when there's this comfort, when you're there, when you vayeshev Yaakov, when he settles and he settles in and he settles and it's comfortable and it's full. Ger v'toshav, by definition, is a contradictory phrase. A stranger and a citizen. Well, what is it? Are you a stranger or are you a citizen? the word lagur coming from the word ger, stranger, leshev, to dwell permanently. So Chazal will go out of their way to try to say, well, it's one or the other. Avram says to the Bnei Ches, it depends on how you treat me. I'll either be a ger or a toshav. Or perhaps what Kodesh Baruch Hu is what Avram is saying is, I was a ger and now I'm a toshav. But I remember feeling that you don't have to resort to that kind of explanation to really understand what this phrase means. What this phrase means, and I later saw it in the words of Rav Soloveitchik Zatzal, so Baruch Shekivanti, this is one of those dialectic phrases in the Torah that's meant to create a tension. Ger v'toshav is the single best definition of the societal place of the Jew across the face of history. And the progenitor of the Jewish people is saying it outright. I'm a stranger and a citizen. That's what I am. He turns to the Bnei Chet and he says to them, I am at once a citizen within this community. Give me the opportunity and I will rise to the highest heights. I will participate in all aspects of your society. I'll participate in the politics, I'll participate in the science, I'm a toshav. But I'm also a ger. But I'm also a stranger. And I have my own unique identity. No sooner do Bnei Ches hear that pronouncement than if you look in the next pasuk, they respond as follows. Nisi Elokim atah b'sochenu, b'mivchar kivarenu kvares mesecha. Avraham, if they would have known the Yiddish, they would have said, what are you hacking us a chinik for? What are you saying? Ger v'toshav, stranger and citizen. Nisi Elokim atah b'sochenu. You are a prince of God. We consider you wonderful. Prince of God in this community. B'mivchar kivarenu kvares mesecha. What, you need a special plot? You need a special gravestone? You need a special graveyard? B'mivchar, the best of our plots. And clearly what Bnei Ches are trying to do is they're trying to pull Avraham in. They're trying to say to him, assimilate Avraham. Become part of this society. Forget this tension that you claim is yours, that you claim defines who you are societally. Become one of us. B'mivchar kivarenu kvares mesecha. And at that point, a battle is joined between Avram and Bnei Chet, that if it would have ended up differently, we wouldn't be here. It's one of those quiet battles in the Torah that if it had ended differently, you and I would have ended up as Hittites. And I don't know many Hittites. Avraham insists on maintaining his integrity, on maintaining his character, on maintaining that he can be at once a citizen of the world and at the same time have a unique culture and heritage that is his own. And if you understand this in this way, it really brings Avraham's career full circle. Because the beginning of Avraham's career, he is told, Lech lecha me'artzecha, and that is, on the one hand, rabbis say it's a commandment to set himself apart from his family and from his land. But the rabbis also say that it is like a small jar of perfume sitting in the corner. You leave it in the corner, nobody benefits. Carry it around, become involved, and it will benefit society. So right from the start, there is this tension inherent in Abraham's career to become part of a society, but at the same time to remain apart. And why it is so magnificent in Chayei Sarah is that unlike Lech Lecha, where God commands him concerning this tension, here Avraham stands on his own and proclaims it. Avram turns to them and says, this is who I am, and I won't change. throughout our history, this tension of ger v'toshav has defined who we are as Jews. We've only been able to survive by maintaining it. On the one hand, we've gone from country to country, and when given the opportunity, we have participated in that culture. But we've lost many because that participation has led to assimilation. It's only those of us who have been able to maintain that ger v'toshav recognition, that have been able to stand aside and say, no, we may be part of this society, but there are things within this society that are antithetical to our tradition that we can't accept. It's only because we've set ourselves aside that we've been able to survive as Jews. This tension, and that doesn't mean closing ourselves entirely out. It means being part of the world, but being apart from the world at the same time. Now that we have our own country, the same tension defines who we are as a country. We are within the circle of the nations of the world. We're a ger v'toshav. We're a stranger and a citizen. On the one hand, we are part of the world community. This is the startup nation. How much has this state contributed to medical practice, to scientific advancement, to education? How much have we, in our short history, have we participated and contributed to the world at large? But, and this is where the big but enters, we're strangers. And sometimes the world reminds us of that. We maintain a moral posture that we need to protect and that we need to guard. And if that moral posture means at times that we will turn to the world and say, no, you can't tell us how to fight our war. We will fight our war in a way that is decent, in a way that is within the rules of war. But you can't define for us, because you made mistakes now, that we should make the same mistakes again. You can't define for us how we're going to proceed to protect our citizens. You can't define for us how we're going to live with our neighbors. That's something we need to define for ourselves. That's something we need, and we need to do it in a way, we will do it in a way that's moral. It's surrounded by those who hate. We will struggle not to hate. We will struggle not to hate. Surrounded by those who teach violence and their children to murder and to destroy. We will teach our children to love. But give us the opportunity. Don't try to make us over in your image. Don't try to make us over who you are. And I think we need to understand that we are, at this historic moment, not only fighting for this strip of land, not only fighting for our security. That would be enough. If that's all it was, that would be enough of a reason for the war. We're fighting a world's battle. We're fighting the world's battle. We're fighting a war of global dimensions. It's a war between light and darkness, between God's will and Amalek, between those of us who celebrate life and those who revel in murder and destruction, between those who would bring God into the world and between those who struggle to keep him out. We should be proud. We should be proud at this particular moment of how that we are waging a war that we did not want, a war that was thrust upon us, that we are making every effort to protect the citizens of Gaza, but we can't protect them completely at our own cost. We will fight in a moral way. We'll make every effort to do what we can to protect innocent civilians, but we will fight because we are fighting for what is right. We are fighting for what is good. We are fighting to retain our identity as a ger v'toshav in this world, as a country that is part of the world, part even of the United Nations, that farcical body at this point, given what it preaches and how it preaches it. We haven't left. We're going to state the truth, and we're going to state it clearly, and we're going to stand on our record as a moral people who believes in God and believes in what is right and true and real. This is a war we have to win. It's a war that's going to change the way this war ends will determine and shape not only the shape of the Middle East, it will determine and shape world history. There's no question in my mind. And we're there. We're there just as Avram was, turning to the world, defining himself. With pride, we have to define ourselves. We should be proud of who we are. We should be proud of our tzava. We should be proud of our state. And we should pray that HaKadosh Baruch Hu will allow us to continue to maintain our posture as gerim v'toshavim in this world community, as part of the world, but uniquely who we are. Bezrat Hashem, we will succeed. I'm going to end, as we have each time we've had one of these sessions, with a tefillah on behalf of Tzahal, saying it for all of us. Bezrat Hashem, as we're speaking, they're fighting. They're doing what they need to do. May they be successful in their mission. May they come home safely and whole. Yishaberach Abuseinu Avram Yitzchak Yaakov Uyivorech et Chayolei Tzva Hagana LiYisrael v'Anshei Kolchos HaBitachon. Umdimam Mishmar Atzenu v'Arei Eloheinu B'Gvul Halvonon v'Yad Midbar Mitzrayim u'Min Hayam HaGadol Ad Levo Arava u'V'Chol Makom Shehem B'Yabasha Ba'Avir u'Vayam. Yitein Adonai Esoiveinu HaKomim Aleinu Nigafim Lifnehem. Kadosh Baruch Hu Yishmor v'Yatzil es Chayoleinu mikol tzara v'tzuka u'mikol nega u'machlo. Yishlach bracha v'atzlacha b'chol ma'aseh yedehem. Yadber sonenu tachtehem v'yatrem b'cheser Yeshua v'ateres nitzachon. V'yukuyam bohem ha'kasuv ki Adonai Elohechem ha'olechim lachem li'ilachem lachem im oivechem lahoshia eschem v'nomar Amen.